Erica here, and I am here with part 3, the final part of kind of my holiday plus book haul. So if you haven't already checked them out, parts 1 and 2 will be linked down below. Part 1 was genre fiction, mostly science fiction and fantasy with a few other things thrown in there. Part 2 is about poetry and nonfiction, and this final part will be about literary fiction. So I have quite a handful of books to show you today, and I'm going to jump right in. The first book I want to talk about is The Story of the Lost Child by Elena Ferrante. This is the 4th and final book in the Neapolitan novels, which I have absolutely been adoring. I've kind of been putting this one off and savoring it because I don't really want the story to end. But I also know that I should probably get to it soon because there are a lot of different threads to this story, and I don't want to kind of lose track of what's going on with the characters. In case you don't know, this series begins with My Brilliant Friend. It's gotten a ton of hype, and I did a review of My Brilliant Friend, which I will link around here somewhere, and you can go check that out if you are interested. But basically the series follows 2 young girls growing up in Italy and how their friendship evolves and how they evolve as people over the years. It's gorgeous, and I love it. Next, I have a book that I've been waiting to get forever. It just came out in this gorgeous, gorgeous edition. This is Human Acts by Han Kang, and this cover is, like, unreal. So Han Kang is, of course, a Korean author, and she won the Man Booker International Prize for her book, The Vegetarian, which I also own and have not yet read. So I'm really banking on the fact that I'm going to love her books, and I'm going to get to them very soon because neither of them are very long, so I have no excuse. So I didn't know a ton of what this was about when I picked it up. Like I said, I'm in love with this cover. I can't deny it. But this says, in the midst of a violent student uprising in South Korea, a young boy named Dong-ho is shockingly killed. The story of this tragic episode unfolds in a sequence of interconnected chapters as the victims and the bereaved encounter suppression, denial, and the echoing agony of the massacre. From Dong-ho's best friend, who meets his own fateful end, to an editor struggling against censorship, to a prisoner and a factory worker, both suffering from traumatic memories, and to Dong-ho's own grief-stricken mother, their collective heartbreak and acts of hope tell the tale of a brutalized people in search of a voice. So this sounds like it's probably going to ruin me a little bit, but it sounds beautiful. I'm interested to kind of learn more about South Korea because it sounds like it'll kind of reflect some of the culture and politics of South Korea as well. So we will see how I get on with this, but at any rate, at least it's really, really pretty. I'm really obsessed with this cover. And underneath the dust jacket, it's just this nice cream color, but I like the font on the spine. It's in gold. So that's very nice. So yeah, hopefully I will read either this or The Vegetarian very soon. Next, I have a middle grades book. This is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. Jacqueline Woodson was one of the authors on the list of authors that I would like to read in 2017 that I have not read yet. And this is, like I said, a middle grades novel. It's written in verse, and it's supposed to be absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure I'll get through this really fast because the font's quite large and there's not a ton of text on the page. But this paperback is gorgeous. It has French flaps and deckled edges. I think the cover's amazing. And this, of course, has won all kinds of prizes. It got the Newbery Honor, National Book Award, and the Coretta Scott King Award. So it's supposed to be absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait to read it. Next, I have a book that I have been wanting to pick up and read forever, and that is Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I have read 2 books by Sarah Waters. I've read The Little Stranger, which I loved, and I read Affinity, which I loved less but still enjoyed. And I hear that this is her best book. Like, it's the one that people most recommend to me and that people seem to love the most. So Sarah Waters writes historical fiction, and a lot of it kind of has like these gothic ghost story elements to it as well. And this book is set in 1862 in London and follows a young girl who is orphaned at birth and grows up as a thief, basically, as a fingersmith, as they call them. And I believe that she gets wrapped up in kind of some intrigue with when this older gentleman approaches her about working as a maid in a woman's house and promises her that if she helps him seduce this woman, that they'll kind of share her wealth amongst them. So I've heard nothing but absolutely amazing things. I'm really anticipating loving it, and I'm so glad to finally have a copy. Next, I picked up a book that was on my most anticipated releases for the first quarter of this year, and that is Always Happy Hour, just short stories by Mary Miller. This is way prettier in person than I thought it was going to be. I really like the color scheme. It's this gorgeous mint green underneath, which I love. And these are realistic short stories. They've been compared to Lori Moore and Miranda July, so I'm interested to see how I get on with them, and we will see how it goes. Next, I have two books that I should have hauled a while ago, but I didn't, and these were the books that were in the first Moth Box, which is a bookish subscription service that Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings is starting. I was lucky enough to get one of the first Moth Boxes, and I have the second one coming my way. I've not had a chance to read either of these yet, but I'm really looking forward to them. The first one is called Call of the Undertow by Linda Cracknell, and this is about a cartographer who has left her life in Oxford and kind of retreated to a small village in Scotland. And it says, it's clear she's running from something, hoping to forget and be forgotten. But to the villagers, the question remains, what is she hiding from? I started this. I didn't get very far into it. I'm going to finish it very soon, I promise, because I would like to read these before I get the next Moth Box. The second book that was in that box, of course, was Trio by Sue G. Or G, I don't know. And this follows a man named Stephen Coulter, who's a history teacher. It says he is filled with sadness and longing at the death of his wife. Through a charismatic colleague and Frank's sister, he is drawn into the beguiling world of a group of musicians and falls gradually under their spell. But as war approaches, a decision is made which calls all their lives quite shockingly into question. So I'm interested in this as well. I believe Mercedes has posted reviews of these books, and I will try to link to her video down below so you can hear more about them if you're interested. And I will, like I said, hopefully be reading them quite soon. The next book I have is The Queen of the Night by Alexander Chee. This was published in 2016, and I was intrigued by it when it first came out, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then I never got back around to it. But I was listening to an episode of the All the Books podcast by Book Riot lately, and they were mentioning this book and talking about how much they loved it. So I remembered that I had wanted it, and I picked it up. This is quite a large story, and it says, The Queen of the Night tells the mesmerizing story of Liliet Byrne, an orphan who left the American frontier for Europe and was swept into the glamour and terror of Second Empire France. She became a sensation of the Paris opera with every accolade but an original role, her chance at immortality. When one is offered to her, she finds the libretto is based on her deepest secret, something only 4 people have ever known. But who betrayed her? Dun dun dun! So this is kind of historical fiction, I believe, meets a little bit of a mystery, and it's supposed to be amazing. The character development's supposed to be fantastic. I love this cover. It's really simple, and you can't see it here, but the cream here is kind of like shiny, like almost looks like snow. So it's a really pretty book, and I'm hoping to really love that. This is another book I've been meaning to buy forever, and I finally got. It's Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff, and this follows a couple through their marriage, and it starts in years when they're kind of struggling to make ends meet. They're not really sure how they're getting by, and then it kind of fast forwards to when they're both very successful, and that's all I really know. And apparently there's kind of a shocking twist, and it's a meditation on marriage and partnership and love and art. And I've heard really fantastic things. I know Brittany from Under the Radar Books really loved this book. I think Mercedes did as well, and quite a few other people have recommended this to me and have talked very highly of it. So I'm excited to get into that. I was able to pick up a hardcover. This is out of paperback now in the US though, and it's very nice underneath the spine as well, or underneath the dust jacket, sorry, not underneath the spine. So someday I will read that. The next book I bought is Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is the last of her novels that I have yet to read. So I've already read Americana and half of Yellow Sun. I've also read her short story collection, The Thing Around Your Neck. I have loved everything that this woman has written, and so I'm really excited to get into this novel. I believe that this was her first novel. but I could be wrong. Half of Yellowstone could have come out before this. I'm not quite sure on the timeline on that. So this is about a 15-year-old girl and her brother living in Nigeria, and they live a very privileged life by Nigerian standards. Their father is quite wealthy, and on the outside their life looks perfect, but apparently they have a troubled home life. Then they are invited by their aunt to go stay with her for a while, and the brother and sister kind of realize that there's a world outside of their home, and that's all I know about it. But again, I'm thrilled to be able to read this. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a beautiful, beautiful writer. She writes beautiful characters and beautiful stories about family and love, and she sets them against a background in Nigeria that is really rich with history and culture, and has led me to understand a lot more about Nigerian politics and what's going on in Nigeria than I ever would have thought possible from fiction novels. So I cannot wait to read this book. I have heard that she has a new novel coming out soon. Is that true? Did I make that up? I feel like I've heard that. I really need to do my research, but if that's the case, I'm super excited about that as well. And the next book I have is my January Book of the Month pick, which is Lucky You by Erica Carter. Not going to lie, I may have partially chosen this because the author's name is Erica with a K, which is also my name. This is the first Book of the Month book that I did not get to read in the month that I received it, which I'm a little upset about, but I will be reading it soon before I read my February pick. So this follows 3 young women who, I believe they're working in a restaurant together, and their lives are kind of in limbo and they don't know what they're going to do with their lives. So they move off the grid and kind of try to find themselves, I guess. That sounds cheesier than the description actually sounds. But that's all I really want to know about it. I'm excited about it, and I hope that it is beautiful. We'll see. Last, I have 2 short story collections. The first one you have probably heard of, and that is The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven by Sherman Alexie. This is an Own Voices Native American fiction collection, and I was supposed to read this in college for an American Studies class, and I never did read it. But I've wanted to read it ever since then, and I'm interested to get into Sherman Alexie's work. I don't read a lot of Native peoples literature, which I would like to rectify, so I figured this was probably a great place to start because it's really well known and people really seem to love it. So hopefully I'll get to this sooner rather than later. And the last book I have to talk about today is The Debugger by Edwidge Danticat. I've read 2 of Edwidge Danticat's previous books. The first is The Farming of Bones, which is a historical fiction novel that takes place in Haiti during the Parsley Massacre. It's absolutely horrifying and gut-wrenching and beautifully written. The second was a novel kind of told through short stories called Claire of the Sea Light, which I've done a review of, which you can check out if you are interested. I love her work. Like I said, she's Haitian American, and a lot of her work focuses on her relationship to Haiti and to Haiti as a place, which I know very little about. But this, I believe, switches back and forth between Haiti in the 1960s and present-day New York City, and we learn about this man who lives in Brooklyn and the people that surround him and a vital, dangerous secret. So I'm excited about this. I believe that this may be told similarly to The Dewbreaker, or not to The Dewbreaker, this is The Dewbreaker. I believe this may be told similarly to Claire of the Sea Light, where you kind of get bits and pieces through different perspectives in each chapter, and so it's kind of that intersection of short stories and a novel. So the table of contents is listed like it's a collection of short stories, but it seems that all of the short stories come together to form a coherent picture. So I can't wait to read this. Again, she's a fabulous author. I highly recommend her work if you have not already checked it out. So there ends my very large book haul, my holiday/winter book haul, I guess. If you would like to discuss any of these books further in the comments, please let me know. I'd love to talk about them, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye!